All right, call your first witness.
Okay. And, yes, if we could call John Bach.
All right, John Bach. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
John Bach, B-O-C-K.
Right, defense.
Thank you. And how do you know Samuel Bach?
Samuel's my grandson.
And where does Samuel Bach live currently?
He currently lives with me and my wife.
And are you familiar with when this case arose?
Just 1 second. Excuse me, we're on the record. If you all can't whisper, then you can't talk in the box. You may continue.
Thank you. Are you aware that this case arose out of a car accident?
I am
And where was Samuel Bach living at the time of that accident?
with me.
And do you know approximately when that car accident occurred?
I believe it was January 25th. I believe,
What year?
2022,
Okay. And how old was Samuel at that time?
18.
And since that time, has he continued to live with you?
He has.
And when did y'all learn that the state was going to proceed with charges in this case?
2 months ago, I believe.
At any point, have you been concerned that Samuel would be a flight risk?
Not at all.
And in regards to the bond conditions, are you aware of what bond conditions he has in this case?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay. Specifically, are you aware that he has GPS partial house arrest?
That's correct.
Have there been any complications with the GPS house arrest?
None.
Meaning
Except for trying to, for work, because the bonds, you have to have a specific time frame from this time to that time, which kind of narrows down what he can apply for. He's applied for a couple of jobs, but the restrictions are just, it's hard. It's hard at this point.
So when I say in regards to the GPS restriction, has he violated it at all?
Absolutely not.
But when he goes to look for jobs, has he had a difficult time with the responsiveness of pretrial services?
Yes, ma'am.
And did that recently affect his ability to have an interview?
It did.
In this regard, do you think that a GPS monitoring is necessary for Samuel?
I don't know if it's strict house arrest, if that's what you're asking.
Well, right now it's partial house arrest,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you believe that it's in Samuel's best interest to have the GPS removed?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, who posted bond?
I did.
Okay, and do you remember the amount of bond that was set in his case?
100,000.
Okay, and who at this point, who is having to pay for the GPS tracking?
I am, ma'am.
And how much is that?
300 a month.
And why is Samuel not being able to pay for it himself?
It's been difficult to get a job with the restrictions being set at certain times and no deviation from those times, no overtime, can't work late. We have to be there a certain time and leave a certain time.
All right, so not to interrupt, but so that everybody can know the information that I need, here's what I need to know. I need to know, one, allegedly, what is this case about? I just know the charges. I don't know if there is, from you, you're telling me that there was a car, it was involving a vehicle. So obviously this is not alleged to be some sort of drinking because it's not an intoxication assault or anything of that nature. So I'm wondering what the issue is as far as the alleged facts of the case. I won't take them as true. I'm just trying to figure out whether or not he should be on GPS. Then the next thing I would want to know is whether or not the state would have any objection to him being on tracking only. And if the state has no objection to him being on tracking only, then the problem may be solved there. With regards to your request, because I know you're going to request that if I continue him on GPS, can he have the fees waived?
Yes.
What I can tell you is this is an independent third-party company with a third-party contract through the state, I can put down waive GPS fees. They're not going to waive them. I can put down defer the fees. Maybe they'll defer the fees, but they're not going to waive the fees. So, state, are you going to have any objection to tracking only?
A judge would have an objection to tracking only.
All right. And so what's your reason for objecting to tracking only?
Due to the nature of the case, it's a manslaughter charge. Right now, from the testimony that we've heard so far, I mean, they've just said that he has been having difficulty scheduling for pretrial. We don't know the full situation there, how much notice he's given pretrial of these interviews. I also was going to ask about employment. Was he employed before this? What about after?
All right. So far we have partial GPS. Is it partial GPS for working? What is the G? Because I didn't put him on GPS. I didn't put the conditions in. There was another judge. I'm assuming the magistrate did it when he was first arrested. So partial, is it partial for working or partial for something else?
Right now, it's just partial for working as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
And this is a case where it's alleged that my client was going 104 miles an hour and he was 18 at the time. He was in the far left lane and there is a vehicle that enters the roadway. It's an 87-year-old driving, enters the roadway and they collide.
Okay. All right.
That's the facts that they're alleged.
Well, alleged facts. Okay.
Right.
So then it seems to me the whole issue in this case, and I don't know if that was put as a condition that he's not allowed to drive. That seems to be the crux of the situation. He should not be driving because of the alleged facts. So with regards to GPS, I'm not inclined to remove it, but I'm inclined to work with him as far as employment. Are you going to have any issues with him having employment if obviously he doesn't have a job right now? So we need a time frame where he's allowed to seek employment. According to the conditions, is he allowed to drive still?
Yes.
So to me, that should have been the crux of the situation, that he should not be allowed to drive. But since nobody's requesting that and I don't have a motion before me for that, I'm not going to interfere with that because I can only interfere with what's before me. So with regards to GPS, because he is driving, I'm not going to remove GPS. I will stick with the partial. If he wants to come up and if you all want to discuss the hours where he can look for employment, my understanding is now employment is all applications online now. Even if you try to apply at the Walmart, McDonald's, you have to do it online. There is no more, I'm just walking in to do it. So if you all want to talk about the hours where he can seek employment, and then that would just be if he has an interview. But what I can tell you is I do not want him driving on the street after hours. It'd have to be during the daytime. So if y'all want to confirm that, you can.
And Your Honor, this accident happened in the middle of the day. It was not after hours. There's no alcohol, nothing other than.
I mean, I understand, but I need to put a tight thing on him because somebody didn't put that he wasn't allowed to drive.
So the other issue is that that we were going to bring out is that he gave over 4 days notice to pretrial of an interview and could not get a response from them the day.
Who is this pretrial services officer?
I have to check.
All right, check who your pretrial services officer is. Give it to Ms. Ferguson. We'll have them zoom in. And before they zoom in, if you all can confer, because I'm not inclined to remove GPS. I don't even think he should be allowed to drive, but I'm not going to interfere with that because no motion is before me to take away his driving privileges. So if you all want to confer over the hours, and then I can have his pretrial services officer zoom here and we can clear up his ability to have employment. Oh, and just so everybody know, he's not going to be allowed to work at a car dealership or any type of dealership. So that's off the table. Anything to do with vehicles or modes of transportation, I'm not allowing that as employment. So if you all want to step back and confer over that and let Ms. Ferguson know who his pretrial services officer is, we'll have them zoom in and we'll take care of it. Okay. Hello.
Good morning.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on such short notice. So here's the issue. Samuel Allen Bach, he wants to seek employment, and we want to give him a window of time where he can seek employment. Have you all agreed on a window of time?
We haven't, Your Honor, and we're still asking for tracking because we don't believe it goes to any issue in the case. We'd like to discuss that further.
All right, I'm not going to give him tracking. I don't even think he should be driving, but I'm not going to address that issue. I will give him, if you want to continue to call your witnesses, you can, but what I will give him based upon the nature of the offense and what you all have told me, if he has a window where he wants to seek employment, I will give him that window of time. And then once he has employment, then he'll be able to go to his work and return. But I'm not going to automatically do tracking. He's going to have to show the court something.
And so, Your Honor, with that, what I'd like to point out is that for 2 years, the state did nothing. And there was actually an investigation that was done by the insurance companies in which the 87-year-old's own insurance company admitted and took responsibility saying he was the cause of the accident.
Oh, well, if you want to file it, I mean, you can file a motion for speedy trial or whatever you want to file it here. I'm just here for the motion to amend bond conditions. We'll go back on the record. We're going to go back on the record in 2023 CR 8868. Counsel, you can recall your witness, or we can continue with your witness that you previously called, Mr. Bach, the grandfather.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Bach. All right. You may continue.
Thank you. Was there an insurance claim made in this case?
And I'm going to object, Judge, because the relevance here.
All right, that'll be overruled. Any other objections?
It's the negotiations in a civil case. It's not relevant here. It's not admissible.
All right. Unless there are no objections, you can ask your question.
Are you aware of an insurance claim made in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And the complaining witness that is now the deceased, the 87-year-old, his insurance came to a conclusion in that case.
Sustained.
Were you the person who paid for the insurance on the car that was in the accident?
I was.
And the car that was in the accident, was it a Cadillac SUV?
Was.
Driven
Yes,
by,
yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
And that car was driven by Samuel Bach?
Yes.
And who was the owner of that Cadillac SUV?
My wife and I.
And who was responsible for the insurance in that case?
My wife and I.
And was your insurance found to be
I'm going to
responsible?
object to hearsay.
Sustained.
What was the result of that insurance claim?
I'm going to object to hearsay.
Sustained.
Do you have personal knowledge of the insurance and how it was resolved?
I'm going to object to hearsay.
Sustained.
During this time period, at any point, did the DPS or the state of Texas seek to remove Samuel Bach's license from him?
No.
Did the state of Texas at all find him at fault in this accident?
I'm going to object. Your Honor, that's what we're here for.
Just one moment. What is your legal objection, counsel?
I guess relevance here right now. She's asking if the state of Texas is trying to find a responsible for this. It's right here. This is what we're here for.
All right, that'll be sustained.
During that 2-year period that has passed, at any point were you contacted and made aware that the state of Texas felt that Samuel Bach was responsible?
I'm going to object to hearsay.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I'm not asking for the content. I'm asking if he was contacted.
All right, then the question should be, were you contacted? Not, were you contacted because of A, B, and C? The question should just be, were you contacted by the state of Texas?
At any time were you put on notice that Samuel Bach, your grandson, was considered to be responsible?
I'm going to object to relevance.
Sustained.
All right. did, in regards to the monitoring of your grandson, has he been permitted to drive for the last 2 years
Yes,
since the accident?
yes,
And has he had any other tickets or violations or anything related to a driving fact pattern?
no, ma'am.
At this time, do you feel that he is a danger to society if he would be allowed to drive?
I'm gonna object to relevance.
Oh, that'll be overruled.
You can answer the question. At this time, do you feel like he would be a danger to society if he was allowed to drive?
No, ma'am.
And why not?
He's never had a ticket or anything before.
And
He's a, I don't,
I apologize, I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't know if you were
oh,
still
no,
talking.
no, I don't believe he's a danger to society.
And is he insured under your auto insurance?
He was,
And has he been kicked off of your auto insurance for being uninsurable?
no,
So as of today, he is insured.
yes,
And what car, if any, would Samuel Fox be driving?
I have an F-150
And
pickup truck.
that's the car he would be driving.
Possibly, I have a Mustang as well, but the F-150 is what he'd be driving.
And in regards to the interview to get employment, are you aware of where he was trying to seek employment this last week?
Those home improvement,
Okay. And are you aware of how many days advance notice pretrial services was given to approve that?
4 days.
And when did pretrial actually respond?
They did not.
And what happened when they did not respond?
Samuel called pretrial that morning.
And was Samuel able to attend the meeting?
He was.
And at this time, do y'all know whether or not he's received a job from Lowe's?
Not yet. It was yesterday, so we haven't heard anything yet.
Now, you need to, would you repeat?
I asked him if my question I have is, no, not yet yesterday, so we have anything.
We have not heard from the employment agency as of today.
Now, if he were able to get or is offered the job at Lowe's, would you or your wife be able to take him to and from employment?
It'd be difficult since we both work.
All right, off the record for a moment. And we have the witness, Mr. Bach. You're still under oath. Defense, you may proceed.
Yes. What is the address of your residence? And are there job opportunities within walking distance of that location?
No,
Are there buses that are at that frequent that location?
no,
Or that can be accessed through walking from that? I
No.
apologize. She's the court reporter, and if we talk over each other, she can't take what we're saying.
Okay.
Are there buses that he could walk to that are close to that location?
no.
What does the location look like? Is it urban or rural?
We're out in the country.
And at this time, do you think that it would be detrimental to Samuel to be locked into a strict time constraint as to when he can leave the house?
No,
I'm sorry, I'm asking, let me ask that question again, because I don't think you heard my question. Do you think that it is detrimental to have Samuel locked into strict times, which he is confined to the house?
I'm gonna object to ask and answer.
All right, that'll be overruled.
an answer.
Yes.
Are there should there be strict rules?
Should he have a curfew or times that he is constrained to the house through GPS?
No, ma'am.
And why not?
Well, the wife and I work many different hours, and to get him a job, to get him to and from, would be hard for us, without him driving, or if he has strict rules, can't work at night or certain times throughout the day.
And are you concerned that Samuel is a flight risk?
No, absolutely.
I pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, any questions?
So Samuel was able to go attend the,
Yes, sir.
so far it hasn't had a negative impact on him attending it.
No,
Okay. And has Samuel applied to other positions?
he's applied for 3 positions.
And has he heard back from any of them?
Not yet. They were yesterday.
But so far, then the GPS hasn't affected any of those prospects.
Not at this time.
And before he was arrested in November of 23, was he employed?
He had worked at 2 jobs shortly.
Okay, and did his arrest and the conditions, did they have any effects on that employment?
He wasn't arrested at that time. That was the 2 years prior to him being arrested.
So the conditions haven't had any effect on previous employment.
It hasn't at this time, except for requesting to attend the interviews.
Nothing from the state.
All right, any follow-up?
No,
All right, thank you so much for coming. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, I have no further witnesses, just argument.
All right, court will hear argument.
Yes, at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Bach, you can stand here. Yes.
We just like to point out that the partial house arrest is not reasonably related to any fact pattern in this case. If the court's concern is, absconding or fleeing, then tracking would more than help with that. He was 18 at the time. He's now 20. This individual needs to be a productive member of society. And the strictness of being able to apply for jobs during only daylight hours, and we anticipate the state is going to move forward and ask for removal of the driver's license. Those are all, like, the driver's license issue is a different issue, but the house.
Well, the removal of the driver's license is not before the court, so that won't be happening today. The fact that he drives is not before the court today, so that won't be happening today. So all we're here about is the GPS.
And my point to that, though, is that I don't see how that reasonably protects society from anything. And he's not a flight risk, but even if he was, the tracking would be the option, not to punish him. Clearly, we should have our day in court, but he is considered innocent until proven guilty. And at this point, 2 years went past, and the state didn't think that he was a flight risk or anything like that. I mean, I don't think that this is the pattern that would justify, the fact pattern would justify this extreme GPS that just gets placed on any case just because someone passed away. It is unfortunate, and I don't mean to make light of that. It's unfortunate that someone passed away, but it does not mean that someone needs to be put under house arrest and stop becoming a productive member of society. We want to encourage the productivity of being a member of the society, not punish those attempts to do that. So at this point, we are asking for tracking only.
All right, motion for tracking only is denied. Mr. Garza, can you unmute yourself, please? Mr. Garza.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
ordering that Mr. Bach is allowed to seek employment. So defense and Mr. Bach are telling me that they've tried to have him seek employment, but that there has been, I'll just say a miscommunication. We'll just leave it at miscommunications. So is there any place that he can email to get in touch with you or leave messages or proof that he's seeking employment?
Yes, Your Honor. He can email me, but when it comes to seeking employment, he does have to be specific of where he's going to be, what time, and the contact information of his potential employer.
All right. Will you be able to provide that? All right. So we're going to get we're going to have Ms. Ferguson give you his email address. So what he needs from you when you're seeking employment is the hours, the specific location of where you're going to be, and the contact person for that employment opportunity. Are you able to do that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Problem solved. All right, Mr. Garza, they're going to get your email address from Ms. Ferguson. She's going to give it to him, and he will be sending that to you. Do you have any employment opportunities that are upcoming?
Haven't had one yet, because I have been putting in applications, and I did have the interview yesterday for a job. However, I haven't heard back from them yet.
All right.
So I'm still looking, I'm still applying. I just have to wait until I get another interview.
Well, you know what my mom would always say, when you do an interview and you haven't heard back, you have to pick up the phone and call them to let them know you really want it.
Yes.
All right? All right. And then what I'll order is I'll order that fees are deferred. Mr. Garza, I know that you all are not in charge of that, but I'll order that his fees for the GPS be deferred because he's not employed yet. And his grandparents really should not be responsible financially for his GPS. All right?
Your Honor, this GPS was installed through the jail, so it's actually possible to waive the fees to the jail.
Could I see the following box?
Stop.
Yeah,
I got it. Oh.
And so I didn't know if you were aware of that,
Well, I mean, I'm aware of the jail GPS, but I'm also aware that the jail PS does not like, because that's funding that comes somewhere else from them. And I do that a lot where I defer fees for people who are off GPS through jail or waive fees. I have waived plenty of fees. And there's a limited number of financing that they have for me to be waiving fees. So I'll defer the fees and we'll go from there. All right?
And I apologize for my misunderstanding. I'm not clear. Deferring means that once he's employed, they would come back.
Yes.
Okay. I thank you for clarifying.
Oh, no problem. All right. Is there anything else?
Judge, the state may be considering filing a motion to modify bond conditions to include no driving. We haven't filed that yet. Just to make it forward.
All right. Then I'll hear that when that comes up.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. May we be excused?
Yes. As soon as he gets the email address so that he'll have it,